The Western Conference play-in should provide plenty of fireworks for basketball fans everywhere. It features some of the biggest stars in the league and four teams who won at least 56% of their games, fighting for two playoff spots. For those unfamiliar with the play-in, the 7 and 8 seeds, in this case the Pelicans and Lakers, will match up, and the winner of that game is the 7th seed in the conference. Then the loser of that game plays the winner of the matchup between the 9 and 10 seeds, in this case the Kings and Warriors, later this week. Whoever loses the game between the 9 and the 10 has their season end. I'm going to take a deeper dive into these matchups, point out some areas each team can attack, and eventually pick my winners. It feels like ages ago where the Pelicans and Lakers earlier this season met in the Western Conference final of the in-season tournament, but here we are. The Lakers won 3 of the 4 games these teams played in the regular season, and all those wins came by at least 16 points. Not an ideal scenario for the Pelicans. Like many games in the NBA these days, this one will likely come down to 3-point shooting, but not for the reason you'd expect. Both the Lakers and Pelicans are in the top 5 of allowing the most 3-point attempts that are considered unguarded. The Pelicans have had better luck against these shots during the season, but the Lakers did hit over 45% of their threes in 2 of their games against them. With the way LeBron James can manipulate defenders with his passing, that's not an ideal combo, as he's averaged just under 12 assists in his games against the Pelicans this season. However, this is good news for the Lakers' complementary offensive players like Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, who can make teams pay shooting off the catch. The Pelicans' strengths offensively actually match up well against the Lakers, given what they struggle with on the defensive end. As a team, the Pelicans took more threes this year, and the results were impressive. They're incredibly efficient on spot-ups and perform well in isolation, with players such as Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, and Brandon Ingram being players who can take over for stretches in that regard. Ingram played his first game in nearly 3 weeks last night, returning from injury, so in a big game, it will be interesting to see if he does log major minutes right away. McCollum and Williamson in particular have very favorable matchups in this game. The Lakers have allowed the third most points to opposing point guards in the last month, and McCollum can beat you in a variety of ways. Then there's Zion Williamson, who's a force to be reckoned with in the paint. The Lakers have allowed the second most points to opposing power forwards over the last month, and the attention Williamson draws in the paint off drives creates looks for teammates, though the Lakers do have Anthony Davis as a defensive anchor, which few teams can match. The X factor in this game for me will be Rui Hachimura. With his size and movement, the Lakers will likely have him spend time defending Williamson, Ingram, or other wings such as Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. Hachimura's also been deadly from 3 off the catch, and given the volume of open looks the Pelicans can give up from deep, could get hot and be the difference. The prize for winning this game isn't really an incentive for the Lakers or Pelicans, as it's a matchup between the defending champion Nuggets. Though given the playoff pedigree of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I'm expecting the Lakers to pull this one out in a high-scoring affair. The Warriors going into Sacramento to face the Kings should be a lot of fun. The divisional foes split their season series, and 3 of the 4 games came down to a single point. While both are capable of lighting up the scoreboard, over their last 15 games, the 2 teams are in the top 10 for defensive rating. One interesting note to pay attention to in this one is that the Kings rank 25th in defending pick-and-roll ball handlers on a per-possession basis. Despite having Stephen Curry and Chris Paul, the Warriors run the action at one of the lowest rates in the league, so it'll be interesting to see if the Warriors do look to hunt for that more in this contest. Despite these teams being divisional rivals, they haven't played each other since late January. A lot has changed since then. In that game, Draymond Green was coming off the bench as he was eased back from his suspension. Now he's the starting center. The Kings are also without their leading scorer off the bench and 6th Man of the Year candidate Malik Monk. There are a few interesting trends to monitor in this matchup based on how the teams play. Few teams try and get out in transition as often as the Kings, and while they're around league average on a per-possession basis, the Warriors struggle defending when teams get out and run. De'Aaron Fox also has a skill set that bodes well against the Warriors. Fox has averaged just over 32 points per game against them this season, and his speed gives the Warriors trouble, allowing him to get into the paint where they lack size in the interior. On top of that, he's made strides shooting off the dribble. While some of it can be 3-point variants, the Kings have been one of the worst teams this year defending threes off the catch. In a matchup versus Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, this is less than ideal. Given the Kings' pick-and-roll struggles, it will be interesting to see how often Draymond Green is used in the short roll to create looks for others. The Kings have also struggled over the last month against opposing small forwards and power forwards, so it wouldn't be shocking if either Andrew Wiggins or Jonathan Kuminga end up playing a big role in this game. The elephant in the room for this matchup is how Domantas Sabonis has struggled versus the Warriors of late. This was evident last postseason, as despite the Warriors being a smaller team, he had a lot of trouble scoring. While Sabonis will add value regardless by creating for others, with the Kings lacking multiple secondary scoring options, Sabonis having an off night is something they can't afford to have in this matchup. Though the Warriors have struggled over the last month against opposing power forwards, so it could prove to be beneficial for Keegan Murray or Harrison Barnes depending on the lineups. My X factor in this game is Keon Ellis. Since inserted into the Kings starting lineup, the second-year guard has provided a massive boost defensively. He's also likely to spend plenty of time defending Curry, where they hope his length and lateral movement will make him work for his baskets. On top of this, Ellis has been dared by opposing teams to shoot, as nearly 85% of his jumpers off the catch were considered unguarded. He's making them pay, knocking down 43% of those attempts from three, and could get hot in this game. Despite that, I'm going to have to pick the Warriors in a close game here. They've not only been a fantastic road team this year, but the pedigree is certainly there, and the Kings' lack of scoring punch off the bench worries me. It should make for a very exciting game and start off what figures to be a very compelling postseason.